Good evening, everybody. We are in the last week of Thriving in Babylon. I heard that since we started this Thriving in Babylon series, 10 weeks, that people have been going through things at work. Are you guys okay? I don't know if what you're going through has anything to do with the series, but if it does, this is the end of all your troubles. Whatever it is you've been going through, it's now coming to an end. Tomorrow, promotion. That is as much prosperity gospel as you're going to get for the next 10 years. All right, there you go. There you go. And as we come to the end of Thriving in Babylon, we also come to the end of the book of Daniel. And so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at one text, one verse, Daniel chapter 12, the last verse in the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 12, verse 13. If you have your Bibles, turn there, Daniel chapter 12, verse 13. The Lord is speaking to Daniel, and here's what he says. As for you, go your way till the end. You will rest. And then at the end of days, you will rise to receive your allotted inheritance. As for you, go your way till the end. You will rest. And then at the end of days, you will rise to receive your allotted inheritance. This is the word of the Lord. As we come to the end of Daniel chapter 12, we also come to the almost end of Daniel's life. We met Daniel in Daniel chapter 1, this 15-year-old kid being dragged by the Babylonians into a new city. He's most likely not had the chance to say his full goodbyes, family, friends. He's dragged with a whole bunch of other intellectuals, young guys, young girls, and they're going to utilize all their skills to continue to build the empire that you call work. To continue to build the empire that they call Babylon. They throw all kinds of luscious, luxurious things at them to change their taste buds, to change the things that they like so that they would like the life of Babylon. He's 15 at the time, but at the time of this word from the Lord, Daniel is said to be about 85 to 90 years old. I want to propose to you today that what we're going to hear today is Daniel teaching us who are big at work, time ticking. Daniel at 85 years old is going to turn around and look at your life. And today he's going to give you 3 things to help you prepare for retirement. Because we all need to, right? How much of you are saving enough for retirement? No, don't lie. You know, only 4% of South Africans save for retirement. There we go. Really? Let me tell you, Daniel was not one of those guys. In fact, I think Daniel is a terrible example of retirement. As much as he's going to teach us a few things today, he is a terrible example because in my idea, retirement looks like buying a house down at the coast. Pick which coast you want. Chilling there with my wife, and we have our feet lifted, and there's the view of the beach. I don't want to be in the CBD. I'm not lying. I don't care how busy. No, I want to look outside and just hear just the waves beating. That's the plan, right? That's the plan. While I'm there, I'm reading. I like it. But yeah. While I'm there, I'm reading a book written by the Belshams because finally they wrote a book together. And I got my feet up right there going, oh, they should have told me this 20 years ago. I'm there, my grandkids are running around. A lot of them. And my kids keep calling me to apologize for the life that they put me through. This is an amazing retirement. Just dad, I understand now. You are the best dad in the world. That is the dream. dream. That is the dream, baby. That is the dream. And I can assure you now, if there's anyone who didn't retire like that, it was Daniel. No wife, no kids, no beachside view. All he has is a vision from the Lord. He's caught up in a vision from the Lord. And I wonder if in that somehow there's a lesson for all of us, that you might retire from your day-to-day clock in, out work, but you never retire from purpose. You never retire from the why of your soul. You never retire from what the Bible frames as thy kingdom come. We don't have the privilege while we are still breathing to decide to take a sabbatical from what God intends to do with our frail 85-year-old self. He's caught in a vision. Whilst we are caught in what we think to be peace, he's caught up in a vision, caught up in purpose, still doing the bidding of God. In the last couple of chapters of the book of Daniel, we don't hear of Daniel interacting with kings. We don't even hear of Daniel interacting with army generals. He seems to be caught up in his own relationship with the Lord. In other words, his posture at 85 years old is, Lord, what are you doing? What are you doing? Think about this. Daniel has seen kingdoms come and go. He's watched kings, advised kings. He's seen them rise up the ranks, and he's seen them being scattered into ashes. He knows everything there is to be known. He's managed to gain so much wisdom that he now knows he doesn't know much. But he's gained enough wisdom to know who does know. His posture at 85 is not, I know how this goes. His posture at 85 is, Lord, what are you doing? What are you saying? So in Daniel chapter 12, verse 1, we are told that this vision that he's experienced kind of made him feel a bit distressed. Here's what it says, Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. And at the time, Michael, who's the archangel, the great prince who protects your people, will arise. There will be a time of distress such as has not happened from the beginning of nations until then. But at that time, your people, everyone whose name is found written in the book, will be delivered. So a little bit of a history lesson here, because Daniel is filled with a whole bunch of visions, okay? Daniel is having this last vision, and he seems distressed. It's understandable that he's distressed because he has seen so many words from the Lord come true over the last 85 years of his life. When he was a kid, the well-known prophet in Jerusalem was a guy by the name of Jeremiah. Not Kanye West, but Jeremiah. Woe to you who your prophet is, Kanye West. All the best. It's Jeremiah. So Jeremiah says this. He says there's coming a time where the people of Israel are going to be exiled for 70 years. Whilst Daniel has that word at the back of his mind, piercing off into the far distance, he sees Babylonians coming. They capture him along with many other teenagers, and they begin to take them all the way through to Babylon. 70 years later, Daniel is in Babylon. The clock has ticked, and he's remembering the fact that Jeremiah had said, and it actually came true. At this point, King Cyrus has allowed all the foreigners who are in Babylon to go home. A whole bunch of Israelites have left Babylon and they've gone back to Jerusalem. But Daniel stays in Babylon. Somehow after 70 years, he's managed to figure out that home is where God is. He's figured out somehow that the presence of God is not held up in a temple only, but he can hear him. He can sense him in the place of presence and purpose. He chooses to stay. But the visions that he's had have also come true, and the vision he's having is also going to come true. So let me give you a bit of backdrop, bit of history to lead us to the latest vision. Number one, we started in Daniel with the vision of the statue. Do you remember the statue? Which was speaking of the four empires, Babylon, the Medo-Persian Empire that will take over Babylon, then the Greek Empire that will take over the Medo-Persian Empire, and lastly, the Roman Empire that will eventually take over the Greek Empire. Those are the four. Then we move from there to a vision of the beast, the four beasts. These were kings. Daniel chapter 7, verse 17 tells us that the four great beasts were the four kings that will rise from the earth. This was the king of Babylon, the kings of the Medo-Persia Empire, the king of Greece, and lastly, the king of the Roman Empire. Then later on, after the beast, he has another vision. This time, it's of a ram and a goat. This time, the ram is a picture of the second empire, speaking about the Medo-Persian Empire. And the goat is a picture of the Greek Empire. And here's what Daniel 8 says, and it begins to interpret its own vision. Here's what it says. The two-horned ram that you saw represents the kings of Media and Persia. Anyone work in media here? I just thought, let me throw that in there for the artists. All right. And then, so those two horns signify the kings of Media and Persia. Then the shaggy goat is the king of Greece. And the large horn between its eyes is the first king. Who is the king of Greece? Come on. Thank you. Alexander the Great rises up. Watch. Alexander the Great conquers the known world by the age of 26. How many of you in your workplace are constantly being praised at how far you've reached young? Or you got there quickly. Oh, I got there when I was 4. No, you got there at 26. Alexander the Great is there at 26. At the age of 33, we are told by his deathbed, he is lying restless. Some historians say he was a drunken old man, but I actually believe he was filled with so much restlessness. He had conquered so much, but yet deep down inside, he hadn't really become all that he was meant to become. In other words, you can achieve without being in purpose. You can conquer without being in calling. You can be successful without being surrendered to God. If we measure calling based on how high we rise, oh my. And so here he is, this restless 33-year-old man, and he's about to die. And they come to him. This is all history, by the way. They come to him and they say to him, who will you leave the kingdom to? And his last words are, leave the kingdom to the strong. And so the interpretation that the people make out of what he said is that the kingdom must be left to the four generals. Now watch, hundreds of years later, a guy by the name of Daniel prophesies in Daniel chapter 8, verse 22 to 23. Go back there. Here's what he says, 23. In later part of the reign, will rebels have become completely, in fact, no, 22. Go back to one. Before that, right, there we go, verse 22. The four horns that replaced the one that was broken off represent the four kingdoms that will emerge from his nation, but will not have the same power. So they divide Greece into four kingdoms led by four generals, and they are weaker apart than they were together. The idea that somehow if you gain more power and you separate from me, you will win. No. They lose the whole kingdom because these four generals begin to fight with each other. And while they fight with each other, one kingdom begins to rise above the rest. And a particular king by the name of Articus rises up, and we are told that this king goes to Jerusalem, kills 80,000 Israelites, takes captive 30,000 Israelites, then goes to the temple and he places, guys, this is history. Like I'm not making this up like I normally do. Like this is actually history. You can Google, you can find, you can even chat your GPT, right? He goes into the temple and he erects the image of Zeus in the temple. Then he takes a pig and he slaughters the pig on the altar. Now, if you know anything about Jewish people, pigs, Xhosas on the other hand, Zulus as well, white folks as well, they'd be like, pigs, yes, right? So he slaughters this pig and then he takes the juice from the pig, and like the priest used to scatter blood all over the altar, this time he takes the juices of the pig and he spreads them all over the temple. And this is what the Israelites later called the abomination of desolation. Later on, Matthew 24, when Jesus rocks up, he says there's one coming, this Antichrist who's coming in the future. He will do exactly the same. He will also come to the temple and desecrate. He will also pretend to be like me. And actually, some of you will actually believe, right? So watch. Daniel 8, verse 23. It says, in the latter part of their reign, when rebels have become completely wicked, a fierce-looking king, a master of intrigue, will arise. Daniel has cause to be concerned. You have cause to be concerned. How many more women must be beaten? You have cause to be concerned. And you think about tomorrow. And you think about your kids. How many more men must hang themselves? You have cause to be concerned. You think about your nation. How much more corruption do you need to see? You have cause to be concerned. How many more religious leaders need to fall? We all have cause to be concerned. Daniel has cause to be concerned. But here's a word for this 85-year-old man. Daniel, go your way until the end. God doesn't give Daniel the opportunity to find control in his fear. He calls him to something greater. Go your way till the end. You will rest, and at the end of the days, you will rise and receive your inheritance. 3 things that I believe Daniel teaches us. Those of you longing to get ready for that beach town house. If you want to get really ready for retirement, 3 things you must know. Number 1, you need to know your present task. Number 2, you need to know your pending mortality. And number 3, you need to know your promised inheritance. Father, help us today as we study your word. Amen. Go your way until the end. Daniel wants closure. God wants faithfulness. Daniel wants answers. God wants obedience. Daniel wants certainty. God wants movement. Go your way, Daniel. In Daniel chapter 12, I believe it's verse 7 and 8. Next slide there. 8 and 9. Here's what it says. Daniel says, I heard, but I did not understand. And so I asked, my Lord, what will the outcome of this be? I don't know if I'll have enough years left to be with the next king. or to walk through the next kingdoms until this happens, so that at the very least my presence can intercede. I don't know if I'll be there. I don't know if I can make it when she goes to that matric dance. I don't know if I can make it when he gets married. I don't know if I will make it that far. At least let me know the outcome. Here's God's response to a faithful man's cry. Go your way, Daniel. Because the words are rolled up and sealed until the time of the end. In other words, you will not understand. The words are sealed up. You won't be able to know. You won't be able to get it. Not now, at the very least. The words have been sealed up, Daniel. I have shown you throughout 70 years my will. This time, all I need you to do, keep moving forward. Be faithful until the end. Go your way. Now think about that. God is not saying to Daniel, go and do you, boo. Now, I haven't said that in like 2 years. I'm a different man. He's not saying, do what you want to do. Go your way. God is expressing to Daniel, who has trusted God for over 80 years. God is expressing a trust from God to Daniel. I know your way. Go your way, Daniel. Because I know you've lived long enough to surrender your way to me. When I say go your way, I have no unction in me that makes me think that you will interpret this as a means to liberal freedoms before me. I have full understanding that when I say to you, go your way till the end, you know that this is an invitation to keep moving in the direction of obedience until I take you home. Keep going. Don't move. Don't quit. Keep going. I sometimes wonder if we quit on activity or we quit on identity. I think more often than not, my wife is in the building, you know. This is it right here. I often wonder, do we quit on the activity of going to gym, or do we quit on the becoming? On the identity that we're pressing into, that requires habits that change us, mold us. Most of the time, when we stop moving, we are not quitting the action. We're quitting the identity that we are being pressed into, called into. We have to choose that I don't want to be that. I want to be healthy in thought, but actually I prefer this. And so I'm not quitting the action, I'm quitting the invitation to become. Go your way, Daniel. Don't quit on me. Be faithful till the end. Keep moving. Go your way. But is your way his way? That is a question of your life. Is my way his way? Is my way the way of worship over idolatry? Is my way the way of celebration over cynicism? Is my way the way of confession over secrecy? It is unbelievable to me the amount of times we in the church believe that we are set free from secrecy instead of confession. That we find the appropriate people to tell things to, whom we know there will be no consequence when they know. Is your way communion over isolation? Is your way giving over hoarding? Is your way resting over striving? Is your way forgiveness over bitterness? Is your way hospitality over hatred? What is your way? And is your way his way? Daniel, I trust you. There's so much I could tell you. There's so much I have told you. But right now, in your frailty, in your old age, be faithful. You want to get ready for the greatest retirement of your life? Here's how you do it. You better know your present task. Your present task is not your next job. Your present task is faithfulness. Faithfulness in the way of God. Secondly, we need to know our pending mortality. We're going to die. I know that makes people a little bit like, even Baba here is like, come on, man. I know. Older generation, especially churches where I come from back home, it's taboo to speak about death unless it's a funeral. But think about it. When's the last time you stepped into a church and someone preached a message on death? We need to do that next year. Because here's the truth. What we learn from Daniel is this. Everyone will die, but not everyone will rest. We're all going to die. But some of you won't rest. Daniel chapter 12, verse 2 to 3 puts it like this. God speaking, or the angel speaking to Daniel, says, multitudes will sleep, or the multitudes who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to everlasting life, others to shame and everlasting contempt. Some all will die, but some will rest into everlasting life, and others won't rest, and they will live in everlasting contempt. Now I know in the generation that came before me hit us so hard with hell that we've done everything to balance the scales by never talking about it. And I don't know if we have created the kind of people who love to think that a life that doesn't give immediate consequence means I am good. I had a conversation with a friend this week, and I love what he said. I love the honesty. He was navigating an issue that he keeps wrestling with and struggling with. And he says, but Siv, there's no immediate consequence for this. So how can I change? How can I change? Because when I do this, it's not like lightning falls from the sky and strikes me. Because at least if it did, I would have enough fear to once shy, what? Lawe. Once shy, twice, what? You know what? Lawe. I wonder in my generation, the lack of immediate consequence with a world that is constantly online, where we can do things without anyone ever knowing. And we can go to bed at night without anyone ever knowing. We can make friends with people we don't know without anyone ever knowing. The fact that lightning is not hitting me, what is it doing to our subconscious? What kind of men and women is it creating out of us? The idea that I don't no longer have to fear some kind of pending consequence. Well, there is something that none of us can avoid: death. We can hide from anything else and everything else, but we can't avoid death. The question is, will it be rest for you? Or will it be torment and contempt? And the way you will know is by the way you go. Is the way I'm going his way? Because his way will lead to rest. Tim Keller loves telling the story of another Presbyterian preacher by the name of Barnhouse who had just lost his wife. Barnhouse is in the car with his children, and he is driving, and he's trying to figure out a way to comfort his children who are navigating the loss of their mom. So Barnhouse looks across the road and he sees a truck, and he speaks to his daughter and he says, "Hey, what do you see?" And she says, "A truck." And then he says to him, "Would you rather be hit by the truck or by the shadow of the truck?" She's like, "Sure, Dad, I would rather be hit by the shadow of the truck." And so he says, "Do you understand that Jesus was hit by the truck so that your mom could only be hit by the shadow?" Do you get it? That the sting of death poisoned Jesus so that it wouldn't poison you. It wouldn't get into you. Death for those who follow the way is but a shadow. But will you go the way? Will you go the way? Now, here's what I find interesting. In Chronicles, we are told a whole bunch of things that led to the Israelites being exiled in Babylon. We're told of them worshiping false gods. We are told of them bringing false gods into their temple. But the main reason that Chronicles actually points out, 2 Chronicles points out, as the main reason that led to them being taken into captivity was this: they refused to Sabbath. They refused to rest. In other words, they didn't allow the land to rest and recover. They kept working the land. We call it burnout. They kept working the land, assuming if I just work it more, if I just engage it more, I will be able to receive all the things I can receive from it. They never paused from working the land as a demonstration of trust to God. Is the way you work a loud shout to God saying, "I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I trust in all the things you've given me. I trust in my abilities. I trust in my effort. I trust in my networks." Is the way we work saying something? The Old Testament calls it slavery. It's a life where we are bound to continuous work for the advancement of others without our rest. Rest not just of the soul, but rest for the body, rest for the mind. Can I be honest with you? I think I like being a slave. I think I do. Do you know how nice it is to be needed? Not demands being placed on you, but just needed. Do you know how hard it is to stop as an act of defiance in a world that says, "Don't stop"? That on a Saturday, I'm trying to figure out, after a crazy week where I couldn't even know, how do I manage to shut down all the craziness of the week so I can sit down with Daniel and go, "All right, bro, it's one more sermon. What do you want me to say?" And on a Saturday, my boy gets to go play soccer, and I'm there. I'm there, right in the back of my mind going, I'm only on point 1. I'm watching this kid, and he becomes man of the tournament. Now wait, his team loses all their games. He becomes man of the tournament, that little champion. Oh, there is. He becomes man of the tournament, and now we've given him many caps that he likes. All of a sudden, he came through. They gave him a cap for the tournament thing. He's like, man, I've never seen a cap like this. Eh? Like, no, this is a anyway. And straight after that, I get home. We get in a car. We drive to Pretoria for the Last Supper with the Bryces. And we're there until 1. Now, I made a promise last week. I'm not going to do that again. I did it again. Tears, joy, laughter. Wake up this morning, a little bit later than normal. Sermon is still halfway in my head. I hate the fact that I'm going to have to hear this sermon while I preach it. Hate that. But something is stirring in me. There's a bit of an anxiety to me because I want to come to the service and worship, but I know I need to perform. I know I need to. Because Babylon responds to results. It's not that I'm worried that you will leave. I know you will. It doesn't worry me. No, you will. If I don't perform well long enough, you'll find it hard to excuse the odd Sundays that I don't do well. It's Babylon. It's the world you come from. You're always thought of from the last show you did, the last Excel spreadsheet that you cut out, the last patient you misdiagnosed. It's Babylon. Why would I be naive enough to believe that it wouldn't be here? And somehow deep down in my soul, it feels easier to serve you as a slave than as a son. It's easier to me because I can control that, you understand? If I put enough work in, if I get enough time in, that I'm able to preach in a way that I don't have to ask God how I did, that I can tell myself I did okay. If I manage to have the kind of results where enough people are able to say, that was great. Now I know I said this in the second service and people came up to me afterwards. They were like, so what do we say? Like, I'm like, no, I don't mean it like that. Now hear me. Obviously, I'm pressing a bit. One of the joys of my life is to come and worship with you. Some Sundays feel like time didn't even exist. It feels like it just passed by. I feel like everything has been caught up in a moment. Every conversation, every sermon, every song sung, it all feels like it just moves by so quickly. But then there are other Sundays where I know, Lord, I don't know if I'm good enough today. I don't know if they'll forgive it. And this is speaking to people who've been here for 5 years. I've done life with them. Why is it today I think they won't forgive? They've forgiven so many. How am I so quick to forget? Why? Because of that Babylon pressing in my soul, calling me to find another way of existence that is outside rest. Maybe the model we see in Daniel, that he will rest, that death will come, but for him, death will be rest. Maybe what we're seeing is that those who have built the kind of life that they rest on the earth as a sign of faith to God will be the ones who will rest in death. Because we've managed to live from the place of faith, not from the place of our works. I'm not talking about rest being a means of salvation. I'm saying rest being the outflow of the true salvation of your soul. And that one of the ways you know that you are really deep down inside trusting in the Lord is to do nothing. Is to create the kind of life that has within it the nothingness that requires God to work from nothing. to work when I'm not working, to work when I am sleeping, to do things I cannot do in my strength or effort. Rest is a demonstration of faith. Demonstration of faith. And those who do it faithfully show the God that they trust. And if they trust in that God and live in his way, death will be rest for them. You're going to die, pending mortality. But how do you want to die? You get to choose that today. You get to choose it tomorrow. How will you die? Now, don't judge me for this one. Ask my wife this. One of the things I really enjoy doing, I love watching funerals, like on YouTube and stuff. Yeah, no. Tell them they don't understand. I don't know why you guys are judging your boy. No, right? I love it. I love watching memorials. She'll find me. Well, when I used to bring the phone to the room, which I don't do anymore. Bring it in. Come on, why is no one showing me love? When I used to bring the phone to the room, she would wake up and hear me in the middle of the night watching a memorial service of someone I don't know. I don't know. Huh? Reverend Duplessis Memorial. You just pick a name. She's like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm great. Go to bed. Yeah, sad melancholy in your boy. I'll tell you why I love it. I love hearing last words. Ain't so cool. What people say, I know sometimes they're lying. Feel the need to say something nice. I love the odd memorials where they know this guy wasn't all that great. And they try to find a way to say it, but also they mixing it with as much truth as they can. Those are my favorite one. My favorite moments are when the kids come to speak, a wife or the husband comes to speak. Let me tell you, I love you guys very much. But none of you gonna speak at my funeral. No. Probably be my kids and my wife. And I watch those things and I go, all right, what are my kids gonna say? What are they gonna say? Because I know after that, when I'm finished watching that, I have a choice tomorrow to live the kind of way that they will be able to say, Dad, you were something. However, I had failed the day before, however, I failed the night before, shouting at them because of the dog that they are not watching. And I'm still watching the dog alone. No matter how many times I've shouted at them, I get a moment to go, okay, tomorrow I get to try again. Listen, I don't know how you went your way today, but tomorrow, you get to try again, to go his way till the end. You need to know your pending mortality, but also you need to know your promised inheritance. Promised inheritance. Daniel 12, verse 13. It says, you will rest, and then at the end of days, you will rise to receive your allotted inheritance. You will rise to receive your allotted inheritance. I don't know how many of you have ever been to like a retirement party. I've been to a few. We watch all these people being celebrated. And years later, no matter how many years later, when that person eventually dies, their whole life is summarized in words. This epitaph, this tombstone, it's written mostly 3-4 sentences, everything put together as one. And I was thinking about this week as I was reading this text. You will rise and receive your inheritance. I was thinking about it, that how does this work in the kingdom though? How does this work? It almost makes it seem like we will rest, and then when we rise, we just walk straight into the streets of gold and latch on to the mansions that our lives and our obedience has managed to acquire for us. It won't happen like that. What seems to be the gap between rising and receiving inheritance are the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." I kept wondering, is this not the picture of how we ought to live in Babylon anyway? Are we actually not meant to live from the pleasure of God and then go to Monday? Or are we meant to use our Monday to attain pleasure? That we actually engage life by constantly pressing towards some kind of feedback, some kind of performance review, some kind of well done, some kind of pleasure out there. What if there is a place in God's economy where we receive his delight and then we go on mission? What if? What if the way we inherit the promise is not by working hard for it? What if the way we inherit the promise is knowing the pleasure of the promiser, thus empowering us to choose our way because he takes pleasure in us? Nothing will change your life like the people you think love you the most. One of the things I pray about, Lord, I need really great husband for my daughter, great wives for my sons. Who loves you the most? And the pleasure that they take in you ought to be the springboard that releases you to conquer the world, receive your inheritance. There is someone in the Bible who also went his way until the end. He came in, lived amongst men. Word became flesh, they called him. And we are told that the way he lived and went his way is that he constantly said, I only do what I see the Father doing. I only say what I hear the Father saying. He modeled for us that the way we go our way is constantly looking like Daniel towards our Maker, saying, Lord, what you say, that's what shapes me. What you do, that's what I want to do. Show me your way. He models this for us by choosing in his toughest moment to say, Lord, not my will, but your will. Do you want to know how to go your way in this life? Follow the way of Jesus, not your will, but his will. His will. The same person rests in the tomb. He rests in the place of death. The Bible tells us he then rises and stands with all power in his hands. And he now, right by the Father's side, is creating homes, inheritances for those he's promised and for those who look to him, those who keep going the way until the end. Well done, my good and faithful servant. I yesterday asked a whole bunch of people to send me pictures of when they were like teens or kids. And a whole bunch of them did. Check them out. You see, that's Shingy. Where's Shingy? Shingy's in the building. This is Josh right here. This Josh, there's the Vuyo is right there. Unbelievable. Chabo, if you know Chabo. Look at all these beautiful. Where's Beth? Come on now. This was my guy. She was in the first service. Where's that wonderful lady? Is she here? My brother right here. Boom. This is Nyaki, by the way. I don't know how many you know her. Look how cute that is. That's like a music album, like picture. This is Sam Vari, my connect group. Nazi is up there somewhere in the streets. Look at all these pictures, man. So great. Oh, now doesn't that look like Kuze? This is Mta. Where's Mta? He's out and about in the streets there. It's great. Listen, no one's going to listen if we carry on looking at these pictures. Pause them for a second. I asked a whole bunch of people to send those pictures. And I was trying to think, when God says, well done, who is he speaking to? Is he speaking to Daniel at 85? Is he speaking to Daniel at 15? Who on earth is he speaking to when he says, well done? If he was there when he saw this kid being dragged from Jerusalem into Babylon, if he was there, who is he speaking to? If he was there when he watched Daniel being thrown in the lion's den, where he listened to Daniel's prayers as his friends were being thrown into the furnace, when he was responding to Daniel's pleas, when the king wanted to kill everybody because no one could interpret his dreams, if God was there, who on earth does he say well done to? And I was wondering that, thinking of my younger self. And maybe when God pierces through all of my life, when he looks at all of your life, knowing what you went through at 10, what you navigated at 12, 15, knowing what you are wrestling through and the achievements you've managed to have now, maybe at 85, the best thing that Daniel can hear from the Lord, you did okay, kid. You did just okay. At every moment I saw you, I was there. I didn't miss a thing. You did okay, kid. You did just okay. His words will reverberate through every part of your being. Every memory that you think you have forgotten. Well done. You did okay. Everything you did, you've worked hard to forget. Stuff you did. You're still holding on, hoping that no one will ever know. You've managed to have enough courage to taste mercy. You did okay, kid. Every opportunity you got that you can be bigger than everybody else, but you said no because you were following the Spirit. It was uncertain how it was going to go. You don't even know what that feels like. You don't even know if you're making the right decision, but something in you was telling you, this is God speaking to me, and everything could go south, but I must obey. I must go my way. You did okay, kid. You did just okay. So here's how we end this whole series, 10 weeks. I wonder what you would say to your 10-year-old today. What you would say to them, having experienced the grace of God. Having navigated life and losses and pains and victories and successes, having been overlooked and rejected, accepted and loved, what would you say to your 10-year-old self if you had the chance for a moment to speak to them, knowing that it's going to be okay? Now, you don't have to believe me, but if the resurrection of Jesus is true, if it's true that Jesus died, rose, and he walked around with nail-pierced hands, spoke to people, they saw him, they touched him, and he ascended. If all of that is true, what I know beyond the shadow of the doubt is that it's going to be okay. It has to be. It will